Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the induction dinner for the Peekskill High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Give yourselves a big round of applause for being here. We've got a pretty good-sized program tonight, so we're going to get the ball rolling. To get started, I'll ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, and I'll ask the Chief of Police of the City of Peekskill, Eric Johansson, to come forward and lead us all in the pledge. Eric.
Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing for just 1 second. I'm sorry. I couldn't get to the microphone fast enough. Just for a moment of silence for those members of the teams that are being honored here this evening who are no longer with us: Eric Creighton, James Tichy, Mark Artis, Michael Giannone, and cheerleader from the class of '72, Sarah Williams. Okay, thank you. You may be seated. I'm not going to ask you to stand again. My name is Vinny Vesey. It's my honor to be the Master of Ceremonies for this year's inductees. We are here tonight to honor 5 individuals into the Peekskill High School Athletic Hall of Fame, 2 teams, 1 of the individuals from the class of '67, 2 from the class of '72, 2 from the class of 1991. In a very unique situation, we have 2 teams being inducted into the Hall of Fame tonight, both from the class of 1972. Yeah. I heard people from '72 getting excited back there. I guess you could make the argument that the class of '72 had some of the best athletic teams in the history of the Peekskill High School, but of course, if you thought that way, you would be wrong. Everyone knows the greatest class in the history of Peekskill High School, from every measurement, was the class of 1965. They had the best-looking guys, best-looking girl, dinosaurs. Who said dinosaurs? In any event, these well-deserved inductees tonight will be joining 93 other Peekskill High School athletes, coaches, supporters, and teams as they get inducted into the High School Athletic Hall of Fame. So that's a pretty good group that they are joining. And the person who's kept this whole thing alive is the person that I want to introduce to you right now and ask him to come on up and give a little welcome. He's the athletic director of the City School District. He's also a member of the New York State Basketball Hall of Fame. Please welcome Lou Panzanera. Lou.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Vinny. Welcome. Everybody used to think they were saying boo when they went to these dinners. They were yelling Lou. They were yelling boo. Well, welcome to our fifth annual Athletic Hall of Fame induction ceremony. It's always a pleasure to be here and to hear the stories and just get to meet everybody and talk again. But before I get into anything, I want to say, I want to introduce my committee. We had a great committee, puts a lot of time and effort. What'd you do to this, Vin? All right, there we go.
Don't touch anything.
They start working in March or April, trying to get ready for this event in November. And those members are Ann Brady. Ann, would you stand, please? Ann's in the back room still working. Dixie DeChristopher. Michael Miner, who isn't here right now. He had to do the net Nick game tonight, and so he couldn't get anybody to work for him, poor guy. Frank Masternunzio, he's in the back. That may be why you guys are being inducted tonight. He did a lot of arm twisting and paid a lot of money, but it worked out. And the glue, the one who holds the whole thing together, Janine DeChristopher. Janine, please stand up. You know, all the awards that you guys are getting tonight are thanks to Janine, and she was able to hold Frank's attention for more than 30 seconds. If you know Frank, did you see the picture of him standing on top of the school bus after one of the games? So you know the task that she had trying to keep him down to earth and keep him focused. So committee, I'm very happy and very pleased to be working with you, and thanks so much for everything you do for this event, which is very special. I spoke to Pete Lunati. Unfortunately, Pete couldn't be here tonight, but he just wanted to send his best to everybody, congratulate you. He told me it was a great team and a wonderful group to work with. Then he snickered a little bit. But he wished he could have been here. I talked to John Z. John Z sent me a nice letter. He lives up in Utica now, and he wasn't able to come down because it's his 56th wedding anniversary, and his children gave him a weekend in a castle in upstate New York. But he sent his best too, and he said it was the toughest job he ever had working with you guys. Is Corky Bobbles here? Cork. Corky Bobbles, Needle Nose, any of you guys hanging out around here? Huh? Just a couple of the famous names from the past. I'm sure you had other names as well, didn't you? Anyway, tonight we're here to honor 5 individuals and 2 teams. You know, their accomplishments, their achievements have been buried in the lore of Peekskill athletic history, but tonight we're going to resurrect those memories and immortalize these people forever after with their names on that banner that's going to hang on the wall in the Peekskill High School gymnasium. So I'm excited to get started with this. I don't want to steal any of Vinny's thunder because I know he would get pretty upset about that. So I'm not going to get into any individual accomplishments or things that the teams or individuals have done. But I do want to mention that, you know, we have swimmers. We have Jack Cawthorn, Amy Johansson, Jack in the 60s, Amy, and in the 91 class. And that's an unusual thing. We have 2 individuals being inducted tonight, Amy Johansson and Brad Wheeler from the same class. I know Vinny took exception, but we have 2 individuals and 2 teams being inducted from the 1971-72 school year, and I'm told that we could probably be looking at the bowling team, the swimming team, and the baseball team and considering them. So that had to be one hell of a class, Mr. Vesey, Mayor Vesey, probably better than the 65 team that I know nothing about. You know, I will tell you, though, just 2 recollections, 2 memories I have, and that was I was at 2 of the greatest moments, I think, in Peekskill sports history. I was at the high school gym on the night that Peekskill wrestled Hendrick Hudson. 2 undefeated teams going head-to-head. And I was supposed to be upstairs teaching an adult education class. I couldn't have gotten out of that gym if I wanted to. They weren't very happy when I finally did make it there, but I witnessed one of the greatest matches. And the culmination with Elliot, I'm not going to tell you how it ended, but it was a great evening and a great event. And the other one that I was also at, I have a great recollection of, was the game at Sleepy Hollow. When Eric ran the kickoff 95 yards for a touchdown, leading to that upset. So I have really excellent memories of this whole evening. You know, last night we had the awards night for all our fall athletes. And I had talked to Frank during the day, and he had met Eugene, and Frank says, I'll come down and help you out. I said, great. Meet me at the middle school at 4:15. I have a lot of things to bring in and get ready. So I get there 4:15. I call him, he says, oh, I'm on my way. I'm giving Eugene a tour of Peekskill. We're going up Lincoln Terrace. 6 o'clock, Frank walked in. What bar were you at Lincoln Terrace, Frank? I want to know that one. The Christopher Bar? Is that where he was at? But you know, as I introduced the Hall of Famers to the kids, saying, you know, back in the day, 40 years or so ago, they sat where you were. They did exactly what you've been doing. They put in the time, the effort to try to make their team the best that they could be, and they did the best that they could do. And I'm sure that not one of them ever thought at that time that someday I'm going to be a Hall of Famer. And as I looked at the 200-plus athletes that were there, I'm thinking, I wonder how many Hall of Famers are here. And there probably weren't very many. Although I gotta tell you, after I listened to the coaches present their awards, there was one girl on the swimming team. She set 5 new swimming records this year. She wasn't a senior. She wasn't even a junior or a sophomore, she was an 8th grader. So there's a possibility of a Hall of Famer right there. And since 1929, that's 85 years ago, since the creation of Peekskill school system, or well, they had 2 high schools prior to that. But in the last 85 years, there have only been 84 individual inductees in 6 teams. That's less than 1% of all the graduates from Peekskill High School. And thousands put on that crimson and blue and represented their school and their colors with pride out on that field. And yet, there's only a select group that makes it to this level, to the Hall of Fame. So you guys got to be proud of yourself. I know I'm very proud of you. Your achievements, they just resurrect such great memories for your family, your fans, for the community. You know, the spirit and the pride that athletic competition and accomplishments creates in a school is just untouchable. There's nothing else you can do to create that kind of environment, the climate that you set with the hard work, the effort, and the sacrifices you make during the season as athletes. So I just want to say I congratulate you. I am so proud. I was one of that 99% of the others who played ball but never had any success or any talent. But I still have a great deal of pride in knowing that I have a common bond as a former Red Devil athlete. And it makes me proud to be here tonight. I congratulate you, and I look forward to hearing all your stories. Good.
For those of you who think, geez, Vinny and Lou just walked by each other, didn't shake hands or anything, we see each other all the time. We share grandchildren, so. Frankly, I'm sick of seeing them, but. Please help me acknowledge a few folks that are in the audience here that I want to point out to you. First of all, the President of the Board of Education, Doug Glickert. Doug? And also Board of Education member Rich Sullivan is here. Rich? Going to introduce to you now a gentleman who is going to say some words on behalf of the administration of the school district. That is the Assistant Superintendent for Instruction, Dr. David Fine. David, come on up.
That's great. Good evening, everybody. My name is David Fine. I am the Assistant Superintendent of the Peekskill Schools. Dr. Lacopoli, our superintendent, sends his congratulations and unfortunately cannot be here as he is tending to a personal matter. I'd like everyone to take a minute to remember back. Vinny and the 65, you need another second, it's okay? Good?
Yeah, go.
Being a youngster can be confusing at times. The world can be challenging. As a child, many things were unmanageable. You deal with personal development, adolescence, drama, friends, not friends, school, adults, family dynamics, and simply trying to find your way or your voice as a child. For me, and like many of us here, this period of time was probably similar. But when we were on the field or on the court or in the pool or on the mat, things made sense. Life made sense. The focus, the thrill of winning, the hunger to come back after defeat, waiting or working together, the bus rides, the dirt, the grime, the competition, the real and laser-like focus that we all had and still have. We knew what we were and what we were supposed to do. I was proud to be a part of a whole, a team consisting of coaches, teammates, brothers and sisters like I know you were. Tonight we celebrate those moments and feelings of our Peekskill record makers, you all. It's amazing. Give yourselves a round of applause for that. I'm just simply here to congratulate you, your families and teammates for your elite work on and off the field. Being recognized in our history is special and well-deserved, as you made a difference individually and collectively. I applaud you and honored to be here this evening to celebrate your accomplishments and history of Peekskill. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call up to the microphone. He's got some proclamations that he is going to be presenting to, or he has here for all of the inductees tonight, but I want him to say a few words. Our county legislator and former Peekskill Mayor, John Testa.
Good evening, everyone. One other thing the class of 72 has, they were the last graduating class of the old high school, right? You were the last ones to go completely through the high school, so that's something, unfortunately the building's not there anymore, but it's a noted fact because my brother Lou was a member of that class, so I was that 14-year-old kid following him around and getting yelled at to get out of the way. But looking up to all those players on those two teams, I wish the players of today would have seen those games and those crowds in the gym and at the Pew Park. Unbelievable crowds for wrestling, more wrestling crowds then than we have even for basketball now, I think. We used to pack the gym for wrestling, and the Pew Park games were something to look forward to every week. So I wish they could go back and see. We have films of some of those games we can show sometime. But it was an honor to be growing up in Peekskill. I'm a graduate of Peekskill High School class of 1976. I was waiting for that one person I saw from my... What's great for me tonight, actually, coming to this every year, this is the first year that everyone being inducted is someone I either watched, who was my teacher, as Jack was at Peekskill High School. He was a phys ed teacher at first there. He was my teacher for a while, or students that I've had. Amy was in my classes, helped me with the yearbook one year, I think, the first year that I did the yearbook. And Brad, all really good people, well-deserved. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be saying I graduated from Peekskill High School and taught 33 years there. It's all I talk about, and it's really something special that happens each and every year. Thanks to the committee and Lou Panzanaro for making this happen. Congratulations to everybody, and have a great evening. Thank you. Go Red Devils!
John loves taking those walks down memory lane, that's very cool. Another gentleman I want to introduce to you, I mentioned that John's a former mayor of Peekskill, had that honor as I did as well. I'm going to introduce to you now our current mayor, who's kept this wonderful lineage going forward of Italian Americans as mayor of the city of Peekskill, Frank Catalina. Frank.
And for those of you that have been out of town, I can't believe I'm the mayor either. Yeah, it's really true. They gave me the keys to City Hall. Go figure. But I just want to thank you for inviting me here. I also have a proclamation for Mr. Panzanaro upon his retirement, but I didn't get invited to the basketball dinner, so I figured I'd bring it here tonight for you, though. I was in the class of 1975, and I played 1 year of JV football, and it was just a real honor to bring you guys water and towels. I asked my date, Larry Gomez, tonight if if I would ever make it to the Hall of Fame now that I became the mayor, and he said, I think it's for athletic ability. But our city, I've been all around this county and a good part of the state. Our city is a very unique city. We're only, well, we're 4 square miles, but 1 is underwater. But in that 3 square miles that we live in and play upon, we are pretty unique. We are a very unique group. My mother is just celebrating her 50th high school reunion, and it's got to be more than that. But they celebrated. Okay, I'll confuse it. But they're.
You better hope this doesn't go on cable TV.
Yeah, I went to.
It wasn't about the man.
I went to a reunion earlier this year, and they asked me to present a proclamation in honor of Paulette Bennett, who passed away, and I was more than happy to do it. And what I found is that back then, even through the turbulent 60s, Peekskill didn't really have a big race problem. As I remember it, we all kind of grew up together. I grew up on Lincoln Terrace. Gene Clemens always took my lunch money every time he saw me.
Never took it personally.
Didn't matter. I mean, I think he would have taken it even if I was black, but it didn't matter. But we all, you know, whether I was on Lincoln Terrace or I go over to Highland Park to see Larry, or I get down to Smith Street to see my cousins, everybody knew each other. It wasn't, you know, we had one really nice neighborhood up where the Vessies lived, but. Hey, Vinny, this is give an Italian a microphone, and but other than that,
you got about 20 seconds left.
Okay, so we all grew up together, and Peekskill has changed a lot, as you've seen if you go through the neighborhoods, but we're still a welcoming community. We're still small, we're still close-knit. We may not be the biggest, we may not be the best, but it's our town, and you people are always welcome. You guys are my heroes, every single one of you, and I love you all. God bless you all, and God bless the city of Peekskill.
All of a sudden, he's a comedian, this guy. All right, let's get this out of the way right now. How many people in this room did not graduate from Peekskill High School? Raise your hand. The rest of us take great pity on you, okay? We're over and done with that. And as far as what class is the best, any class that graduated from Peekskill High School is the best, period. Right after 65, of course. Now, we're going to get ready to eat in just a second. Before we do, I'll ask the president of the school board, Doug Lickard, to come forward for the invocation. Doug?
Boy, all this talk about the best this, the best that, we're going to have to pray for humility right now more than anything, I think. But really, we talk about all the great athletes and the great teams, and all the people doing all the speaking are talking about how non-athletic they are. But I would beg to differ, really. I mean, I've been on the golf course with Vinny, and you've seen him hit a golf ball. That's pretty athletic. I wouldn't be ashamed to, you know, call you an athlete at all. But more than anything, with our sports programs, you may not have succeeded, Lou, you may not have been the best athlete, but being a part of a team, being a part of something leads to character. And for that, you've got that in bunches, you know. So I'm just honored to be part of the service that we do to our kids in Peekskill. Yep. And that's one of the blessings that I have as a school board president here, and just as a member serving the last few years, seeing our kids and our students using athletics to make something of their lives and give them something of hope. And even if they don't make a varsity collegiate team or be successful in any kind of professional sports, being a part of a team and the coaches that we have and the director that we have, and over the years we have a long history. We have put together some great citizens, and just this team right here, the stories that I've heard and the people I've talked to, the lives that you guys have led after you've graduated, after all the stardom and the fanfare, and what you've done in your communities and your families, it's to be exemplified. And I'm just very proud to be here tonight and to honor you. So let's thank God for the past that we've had and to pray for blessings for our future. Let's close our eyes. Dear Lord, we just thank you so much for this night. We thank you for the opportunity to honor athletes, Lord, that have done great things, Lord, in their past, Lord, that have made a big difference, Lord, in the community's lives, in their families. We thank you for what you've done through them. Lord, we just ask you, Lord, that you continue to bless their lives and to bless their families and everything that they're putting their hearts and minds to. Continue to use them to make a difference in their communities. Lord, we thank you for all the hands that are here tonight that have made this possible. We thank you for the world of difference that it's making in our city and our students' lives. Continue to bless our city, bless the people that are working to make it better. And tonight, continue to make this a great night. So this food, bless it to our bodies and let it give us nourishment and strength to us as we enjoy the rest of this evening. In your name, amen.
Thank you, Doug. You know, there's a lot of great people and nice people, but if there's a nicer person than Doug Glickert, I want to know where he or she is. Thank you, buddy. I'm not quite sure, though, why you felt compelled to point to me and saying, despite, I'll paraphrase what you said to everybody here tonight, despite the way he looks, he's really quite athletic. I didn't say anything about the way you look. There's any number of people out here who I could point out, like Greg Terone, who the program claims he wrestled at 101 pounds. Take a look at him now. You tell me he was ever 101 pounds. I could go from table to table if I had to. But since we're here in the spirit of fun, I'll just let it all go. Right, Jack? There you go, buddy. Jack Cothran, who you'll meet later, was a great swimmer at the Peekskill High School, at the old high school. How many were here at last year's dinner? Just a couple. Okay, well, let me point out a couple of things to you, because we're going to be honoring a couple of swimmers tonight, one of which is Jack, who swam for Peekskill, class of '67, and Amy, who swam for Peekskill a number of years after that in the new high school, wherever they swam. I'm not exactly sure. But for those of you who were in Peekskill High School before 1972, how many of you have wonderful recollections about that swimming pool that we had? And especially the recollections of gym class. I'm not quite sure how the girls' gym classes went, but I can tell you how the boys' gym classes went. You would be ushered into this swimming pool by John Devon, Coach Devons, or Coach Pease, or one of them, and stark butt naked. And you'd line up on either side of this swimming pool. Now, the ceiling in that swimming pool, for those of us who were there, was about this high. And the best part was going to a swim meet where these kids were coming from like Scarsdale or all these schools down around the Sound Shore. And the guy who was going to be doing the diving, right? We had the diving board with a steel girder that was about, what would you say, 4.5 feet above the board, right? So it was a very unique place, and anybody who became a champion swimmer out of that cesspool was really something special. And the guys that were in the gym class, the girls, you had gym class, you went to the swimming pool as well? Okay, I'm going to assume they didn't line you up naked. You did have suits. Okay. All right, so the guys didn't. So all those guys that you thought were hot back then and now you see them tonight and you say, Jesus, what happened to them? Think of them. Think of them lining up this pool, butt naked on either side, and Coach Devins or Coach Pease with a whistle, or Coach Cook, by the way, who we'll see later, with a whistle in his head saying, now, when I blow the whistle, I want everybody to jump in. So you look at the pool water, and the pool water before anybody went in was very still. So you could see all this stuff, whatever it was, just kind of laying there on top of this pool. And you wonder, geez, if I really jump into this pool, am I going to be able to penetrate this stuff and actually get wet? And lo and behold, the whistle would blow, and you'd jump into the pool. And a number of physiological things happen to a guy when you jumped into that ice-cold water. Don't want to get into it now because we're getting ready to eat. But all I can tell you is this, and I'm not picking one sport over another as to, you know, the athletes that are really special when they do extraordinary things. But anybody who swam in that pool and set records and is still alive today to talk about it is very, very, very special. That's all I'm going to say. With that thought in mind, I want to tell you.
You have to pray again after that.
We all prayed back then, Doug, let me tell you. Two things I want to point out to you while you're eating. Number one, Ann Brady, stand up, Ann. Stand up. A beautiful woman. She'll be around, be selling 50-50 tickets tonight with a few others. All the money goes to her children's college fund. We still have one in college, right? There you go. Private school, very expensive. Right, okay. Anything else you want to spend on, or you want to, okay. All right, so Ann Brady will be going around selling 50-50 tickets, all right? See Alan over here. He'll be letting you know when your table can get up and hit the tables, okay? We'll be back with the induction ceremony right after dinner. Thank you. All right, I have a special announcement. If you look at the table straight back in the middle of the room, you'll find 24 beautiful roses. And the reason why there are 24 roses there is because it is Mary Lou Calabrese's birthday, 84th birthday yesterday. And the 24 roses have special significance. We've got 7 for kids, right? We've got 12 for grandkids and 5 for great-grandkids. That equals 24. I can't sing, it'll go too long tonight. Cheerleading captain. What's that, Chris? And a cheerleading captain. She was a cheerleading captain? Where, for your father and the, what? Go Daddy Go? 1948? Class of 48. There you go. The year I was born. All right. I mentioned when we started this evening that there were 96 other individuals and teams that are in the Peekskill High School Athletic Hall of Fame that this next group will be joining. And some of them are here tonight. So if you are a member of the High School Athletic Hall of Fame, please stand up. Let's give them a big round of applause. I know Mike Dardone's here, Greg Terone, great, Joey. Pop Panzanero, I told you to stand up. Get out of that wheelchair and stand up. He threatened me not to mention how old he is going to be on December 6th. So I'm not going to say how old you're going to be. I'm not going to say it. But what I am going to say is that you graduated Peekskill High School in 1934. Right? 1934. So you are certainly the oldest person in this room. And the fact that you're going to be 100 on December 6th is something I will never mention. Now we'll sing happy birthday to Pop and Mary Lou. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mary Lou and Pop, or Pop and Mary Lou. Happy birthday to you. Let me tell you, there's not too many communities that are as blessed as we are to be able to have a night like this and to be able to recognize these great people that have come through our school system and represented their school and their community so well, and still have a happy birthday for Mary Lou and Pop, and we're all together for a situation like that. How great is that? All right, it's time for us to now introduce to you and to induct into the Hall of Fame this year's class, the first of which will be from the class of 1991, Miss Amy Johansson. All right, let me say a few words about Amy, and I'm not going to mimic exactly everything that is in the program that you have in front of you, but for more detail on Amy and everyone else, please make sure you use your program and take it home and read a little bit more about them. Anyhow, Amy began her swimming career at the age of 7 in the summer programs offered by the Peekskill Recreation Department up at Depew Park. She first lettered for the varsity team when she was only a 7th grader and lettered every year after that until she graduated in 1991. That means she lettered in swimming for varsity 6 years in a row. As a freshman, Amy broke the 100-meter breaststroke record. In 1988, as a sophomore, she broke her own 100-meter breaststroke record again with a time of 1 minute, 17 seconds, 17.2 seconds. By the way, if you're not a swimmer, point whatever matters. This record, by the way, if you want to know if that was good, that record lasted for 24 years before it was broken in 2012. Amy was the divisional swim champion in 1988 and captained the high school team in her junior year. In addition to swimming, she played varsity soccer, was a member of the marching band, and as John Testa mentioned before, she was also involved with the yearbook. She was also the student council treasurer, and despite rumors to the contrary, she was not indicted for stealing money from the junior class. She was very active and a terrific student at Peekskill High School. After college, Amy ended up coaching a competitive swim team for the Premier Athletic Club down in Montrose. She went on to coach the Henrik Hudson girls swim team for 2 years. An interesting sidelight here, when she was coaching the Henrik Hudson swim team, she ended up sharing a pool for practice sessions with her former coach at Peekskill High School, Judy Marks, who was still coaching Peekskill High School swimmers then. How about that? Amy also coached the Henrik Hudson ski team for 1 year until 4 kids broke their legs after listening. Amy is currently a math teacher down in Henrik Hudson School District and a senior adjunct professor for Westchester Community College. She's also taught math at the Peekskill Extension site for more than 10 years. Before I introduce to you Amy Johansson from the class of 1991, I will also tell you one more very important thing. She is like a second mother to 4 of Patty and my granddaughters, and they love her to death. And the reason for that is she is an extraordinarily special person. I present to you Amy Johansson.
Thanks, everybody. Vinny stole most of my speech, but I'll continue anyway. I was going to say that I was going to get my hair done, like my picture out on the bulletin board, but I didn't want to embarrass my nieces and nephew. They already saw the picture and said, ugh. So anyway. But thank you all to the, especially to the Peekskill High School Athletic Hall of Fame Committee, especially Lou Panzanaro, for this great honor. Thank you to my family, Mom and Dad, Eric, Kathy, and everybody else, and my friends for coming out to support me tonight. Congratulations also to the inductees for their nominations. I first started swimming, like Lou said, or Vinny said, when I was 7 years old at the Peekskill Park and Recreation Team. This tremendous program made me love the sport as well as many kids in the community. Everybody loved it. We had coaches and kids who were the older kids who taught us all the techniques and taught us about competing and made us love the sport. Every morning over the summertime, we would come to the Peekskill Park pool before it opened, and it was very chilly in the morning. And we would practice and practice so that we could do our swim team meets against the other community teams on Saturdays. I remember we were all so excited, and we couldn't wait to collect our ribbons and medals at the end on the Saturdays. In 7th grade, I joined the varsity swim team. That's where I already knew a lot of the older girls from the Parks and Rec team. During the first year, Coach Judy Marks, who was unable to be here tonight, but I thank her for inspiring me, she put me in the fast lane with the rest of the girls. They inspired me to swim harder and faster. I received my varsity letter that year, and I won many first place races. During my freshman year, I broke the high school record for the 100-yard breaststroke, and during my sophomore year, I broke my own record again by over a second. I remember that day well, as I was very sick and I almost didn't make it to the pool. But my mom was there and encouraged me to swim faster and faster as usual. I think the reason that I was able to swim so fast was that I couldn't wait to get through the 100 yards and out of the pool. I'll tell you about that pool a little bit later. During the beginning of my teaching career at Hendrick Hudson High School, I coached the varsity swim team for 2 years. But we were having difficulty finding a pool. Coach Marks, who was my swim team coach, was very generous, and she offered me the use of her pool. We were at the administration building pool, but that one went into disrepair. So Judy offered me the old Peekskill Middle School pool. I'm pretty sure that was the old high school pool that Vinny was referring to. So we stayed there for a little while, but quickly our superintendent came down and pulled us out of that pool. Her daughter was on my team. They merged with Croton, and as Vinny said, I did take over as a trade coaching their ski team, but I was much better coaching in the pool. Nobody broke their leg, but I was much better there. So my coaching athletics days are over, but you can find me coaching math, such as geometry, pre-calculus. You can see me coaching to the 4 girls that Vinny was talking about. My nephew and my brother, they're some of my top students. And all my friends who live out of town and family members, they seem to find me on Facebook. They always track me down, so I can never run. I'm always coaching that. Thank you all again for coming out tonight to celebrate this incredible recognition. I'm proud to join the outstanding members of the Peekskill High School Athletic Hall of Fame.
Amy Johansson, everyone. Amy Johansson. Oh, one more. The proud daddy.
I think our 3 minutes are up.
All right, Amy Johansson. All right, our next inductee is from the class of '91 also, Mr. Brad Wheeler. Brad, come on up here, buddy. Brad Wheeler, well, while excelling on the lacrosse field, Brad Wheeler was an outstanding two-sport student athlete at Peekskill High. According to many in the know, Brad is considered the greatest lacrosse player Peekskill has ever produced. Now take a listen to this resume. Brad was a 4-year varsity lacrosse player and holds the Peekskill High School single-season record for goals of 54 goals. The single-season record for points with 74 points, that in 1991. And the career goal record generating 123 goals and 174 total points during his 4 years of playing lacrosse at Peekskill High. He was captain of Peekskill's first league championship team in 1991. He was all league as a sophomore, junior, and senior, and all section in his junior and senior years. Brad's highlight game, now I don't know this to be true, but this is what they're telling me. All right, you let me know if it's right or wrong. Brad's highlight game was an 8-goal, 1-assist performance in a 10-6 victory over Henrik Hudson. For all you Henrik Hudson teachers that are here supporting Amy. And he was only in his junior year then. We can't even talk about what he did to Henrik Hudson in his senior year. The 8 goals was 1 goal short of a national record. Brad was also all-league, all-section as a Peekskill High School football player, where he played tight end and linebacker in the same year. In addition to all that, he was president of his class. Brad attended Division I UMass for 1 year and then transferred to 10-time Division III league champ Salisbury State University. Brad was then recruited and played both football and lacrosse at Pace University, where he held Pace University records for most goals as a mid-season for a single season and for a career. Now, he set these records while playing only 2 years at Pace. The only people that beat his records were people who played 4 years at Pace. Brad was the team Rookie of the Year in 1994, the team MVP in 1995, all Knickerbocker Conference in both 94 and 95. He left Pace as the 5th all-time leading scorer and #1 all-time scorer as a midfield, all while playing at Pace University only 2 years. He currently lives, yeah, you can clap for that. He currently lives in North Carolina with his wife, Casey Gilbon, whose mother was from the greatest class in the history of the city of Peekskill. Class of '65, by the way. They have 2 sons, Logan. Where's your brother, Logan? There you go, Logan. and Drew, who you already met, who fixed the 50-50 drawing for Pop Panzanera. Brad and Casey have started their own lacrosse organization in North Carolina and work closely with their high school athletic director and boosters to help build and sustain local lacrosse programs. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you from the class of 1991, Mr. Brad Wheeler.
Thank you. And it doesn't work. Okay. Thanks, and I want to let everybody know that it truly is an honor to be inducted to the Peekskill Hall of Fame. You know, joining great athletes from my time, before my time, and after my time is something very special. Peekskill has a very rich history of players and people who continue to make a difference in all walks of life, and I'm proud to be recognized as one of them. We have NBA players, NFL players, wrestlers, swimlers, and now me. So that's pretty cool. I've had the fortune to play in Peekskill where teammates and alumni have gone on to serve in the military, start their own businesses, run companies, become firemen, teachers, police officers. I even know one heavy-footed defenseman who would go on to become a chief of police. Peekskill is a place where math teachers and shop teachers can become mayors, and those mayors become legislators, and some of those legislators go on to become governors, and maybe more. You see, Peekskill has, and I always think will have, this blue-collar, chip-on-your-shoulder attitude hidden in the corner of Westchester County, which breeds hard work and dedication and loyalty. See, there is no easy pass through Peekskill. You have to pay your tolls. Even our white-collar folks like Vinny, you know, they're the same type of guys that'll roll up their sleeves and want to get dirty with you and just get it done. And that's what it's all about. You see, I guess what I remember most about playing in Peekskill, whether the football fields or lacrosse fields, was the wide variety of fans that would support us all the way. We had Porky Mal and Sam DeLuca, Richie Strang volunteering their times to set up fields. And then you had Mike Sabini. You're always looking for those shout-outs from Mike Sabini or Sean Murphy in the Peekskill Herald. We had the Channel 6 interviews with Jerry Desmond and Frank Pugliese, and maybe a thumbs up every once in a while from John Mancini or Don Rickett from the school board. I still think I may be one of the only players that has ever been bleeped out on one of those Channel 6 games. But let me tell you, that was one hell of a damn block that was thrown out there. I remember how cool it was when former players would be lining up on those concrete steps to see if their records could be broken or if we could avenge any losses that they had in previous years. And let me tell you, guys, 1990 and 91, we did a lot of avenging on some of those rival teams. That is and always will be Peekskill to me. Peekskill's not a place about first chances or second chances. It's a place about third, fourth, fifth, sixth chances. The whole community will always stand behind folks that are always giving their effort and always going to make it good. Making those long walks from Liberty Street, passing Monument Park on the way to school, wearing your jersey, you felt pretty much invincible on game day. You were part of a brotherhood of Peekskill athletes, male and female, and there was this unwritten bond and respect that goes with that. You were on your way to do battle with your teammates and represent your town. And when it comes to teammates, I'm not sure you can find a better place that will prepare you for life than Peekskill High School or a Peekskill locker room. You see, in Peekskill, the team consists of friends from all sorts of scenarios and life situations. You got black kids, white kids, yellow kids, green kids. You got happy homes, broken homes, kids living with grandparents, kids living with other kids. Whether you lived on the Boulevard or Bowman Towers, you're always part of one team when you got in the locker room, and that was the most important part. We were only limited by our own thoughts and our own actions. I had a goalie that was a National Honor Society, high honors, National Honor Society student whose father was head of the math department. And I also had teammates that were in the medical marijuana business long before Colorado. But guess what? On game day, we were one team.
And sober.
Yes, that's true.
Maybe.
Which will bring me to my accomplishments. My accomplishments on the field have never been my own. They've always been a byproduct of the friends, teammates, bonus families that are always there to support me. There we go. I do not know how I can ever repay or thank, my mom, the DX, the DeBruzos, Panzaneros, Probians or Gilbons, and that whole clan for taking care of us. They've been a huge part of my life in the good times and the not so good times. I owe them a debt that can never be repaid and will always forever. I'm trying to speed this up for you. You got it. I'm trying.
Speed it up. You're doing fine.
No worries. I would like to acknowledge some folks that couldn't be here today with me, the Probian family directly, not just my buddy Matt. You know, he's like a brother to me all through growing up, but also his parents, Hank and Ann. You know, that's a family that, you know, from my side, from everything we went through and stuff like that, is someday I hope my family is to where positive impact and just there for somebody all the time and just great folks. So let's talk about sports because it's a heck of a lot easier for me. All right. My freshman year, I came in playing lacrosse. Here I was, this hayseed from Corning, New York that moved down. I could catch and throw, maybe a little bit better than some of the other kids because I started at an earlier age. But we went out there that freshman year, and you know, that's when I realized that brotherhood of Peekskill athletes, where I was a young guy playing with varsity players, so it was tough out there. And even some, you know, a lot of times, a lot of the older guys didn't like it so much. They didn't like that I was trying to date their sister. They didn't. There was a lot of stuff going on, you know, and so it worked out good. We had a 6-10 year, but, you know, it was sort of building and going. My sophomore year, we got the team to 500. Coach Stenning and Coach Benvanga, the pieces all started coming together a little bit, and we started getting players to cross over a little bit. That was the big thing for lacrosse. Peekskill wasn't a lacrosse town. It was just sort of a, you know, basketball, football, baseball type of place. But that sophomore year, we started getting those crossover players. We got more football players coming out. We got kids trying the game that really helped and complement the thing. And then 1990 is when it really started all coming together, both on the football field. You know, a lot of my class was being coached by Vinny Barano, Ray Berry, Bob Small, you know, and it was just like they taught us a ton about life, and they taught us a lot about football and a ton about life. And that bled right over to the lacrosse season. In that season of lacrosse, we had Rob Sabini in goal, Jimmy Zambrano at the face-off X, and a slew of underclassmen that really helped propel that team, and again, led to the 10-6 win over, you know, Hen Hud for the first time, and which would follow up the next year also. And then finally in 1991, the football team, you know, it was just, that was a great squad I was on with great players up and down the line. We went, you know, again, we beat Hen Hud in football too. It was just, it just kept going. We were on a roll. We made a bowl appearance, and then, you know, lacrosse season. That's when we won our first league championship. You know, there was a tournament in Croton where we took out Panis and we took out Ossining, and it was just, that was the year that just things were going right. And it was, you know, 12-3 season that I'll never forget. And then, like I said, Vinny talked about Pace University. I sort of jumped around schools a little bit. You know, coming out of Peekskill, I was a big fish in a small pond. And then when you got to that Division I program, you were a small fish in an 80-team player Division I pond. It was like, maybe not so much. But again, we talk about Peekskill and first and second and third chances. That's when Coach Mulholland down at Pace University, a former Peekskill coach, reached out to me about bringing me down there to play lacrosse for him, but I also had to play football. Now, if any of you guys have played football, you know there's always a couple of those kids that are like really into it. You know, they slap you on the helmet after a good play and, you know, look forward to hitting day. Well, college football, they're all sort of like that, and that really wasn't me. So lacrosse season was a blessing. But at the end, I've just been very thankful for everything and all the opportunities, and just can't tell you the amount of support and, you know, just encouragement I've always gotten from playing in Peekskill, being part of Peekskill, being part of the Peekskill community, and it's a very big deal to me. And Casey and I take that now with us down to North Carolina. We've got our own youth organization. We started playing in, you know, they say lacrosse is a medicine game. It's good for the soul. You know, if you look back at the history of it, the Iroquois started it here in New York, and it was a game that was, you know, played for the creator and played to sort of, you know, cure the soul a little bit. And it's done that and a ton more for me in my entire life. And thank you for the recognition, thank you for the accomplishments, and it's been a pleasure being here.
Good job, buddy. Good job. Brad Wheeler, everyone. All right, Brad Wheeler. Brad asked me, he said, Mr. Vesey, how long do I have to say my comments? I said, oh, about 3 minutes. It's nice to know that Brad doesn't pay any attention to me, just like my own kids don't pay any attention to me. That's all right, buddy. Your time in the sun, congratulations, great, just great. Now from the class of 1967. Now we're talking Jack Cothran. Jack, come on up there. Oh, yeah. Jackie's from that real pool in Peekskill. Jack Cothran lettered in 3 sports during the time he was in Peekskill: swimming, football, and spring track and field. However, it was the pool is where he really left his mark, developing into one of the best swimmers in Peekskill High history. He was the captain of the team in 1967, earning all county honors. He set records in a 100-yard backstroke, 100-yard butterfly, 200-yard medley relay, and a 400-yard relay. He didn't leave too many events for records for anybody else. Jack was awarded the 1967 Robert J. Pease Memorial Senior Athletic Award and the 1967 John Devon Senior Academic Athlete Award. He's especially proud that in his senior year swim team picture was the only swim team photo that hung on the wall of legendary coach John Devon's office. John Devon used to throw darts at certain teams, and evidently the swim team, that was it. After graduation, Jack went on to first to the SUNY Maritime and then to SUNY Cortland, where he continued to be a standout in pool. He was also a 4-time qualifier in the NCAA College Division Swimming Championships, finishing 15th in the 400-yard individual medley in 1971, and the same level in the 1,650-yard. That's right, I said 1,650-yard freestyle in 1972. Now, he finished 15th, but you got to put this into context. The top 12 in college were designated as All-America. So that is pretty special performances that Jack turned in. He rewrote the record book, becoming the holder of 8 individual and 3 relay records at both SUNY schools. He was the team captain and co-captain for SUNY Cortland in 1969 through 1972, where he graduated from in 1972. Well after graduating from college, and I mean well after graduating from college, Jack continued his love of swimming competitively. He has swum in the United States Masters Swimming Program since 2004, and he told me just earlier he is still swimming competitively in 2014. And in the Masters Swimming Program, he holds an unbelievable total of 16. You heard me, 16 individual and 5 relay United States Master Swimmer records in 2 different regions. By the way, he also holds or held 4 New York State Empire State Games records. In the 2012 United States Senior Short Course National Swim Championship, say that twice real fast, he placed 6th in the 1,650-yard freestyle and 10th place in the 500-yard freestyle. Jackie is married to Kay Shaw from Nolans. Said that right, didn't I? Yeah. They reside in Savannah, Georgia, which is a great place, and they have 2 sons, Jack and Tom, both of whom are in Virginia. Ladies and gentlemen, This is an old friend of mine, and I am so pleased to introduce to you, from the class of 1967, Mr. John Jack Cothran.
Thank you, folks. I'd like to thank Louie and Vinny. It's nice being around older guys again. And the committee. And I want to thank everybody for being here. It's wonderful to get this being inducted into the Hall of Fame, but it's nicer just being home. It's very nice. As other people have said, nobody gets here by themselves. I've always depended on teammates and coaches in order to supply the motivation and to make sure that you're not giving up and to keep persisting at this. And it started for me at Woodside Elementary School way back in the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah,
all right. I had wonderful teammates like Billy Ryan and Pete Buchanan, Butch Basso, and I had a wonderful coach, Coach Maniscalco, who coached on that side of town. And then I went to the high school and the middle school. I had great teammates again, like George Carter, Jimmy Kohut, Billy Pugh, Billy Sessions, and of course, Billy Thomas also. And I had two great swim coaches at the time, Al Palmietto and Lynn Gordon. But the most important coach I had at that time in high school was the person that kind of directed me to swimming. He had coached me 2 years in JV football, 2 years in JV baseball. As a 10th grader, I got cut from JV basketball. And he approached me, and Coach Cook asked me if I wanted to come out for wrestling. And I said, sure. My brother Kevin was wrestling, so off to Woodside I went again, because that's where they practiced at the time. At the end of the year, I was pretty sure that Coach Cook and Billy Sessions had taught me all I needed to know about bridging. If you're a wrestler, you know what that means, okay? And it's basically the last final gasp of somebody who's about to be pinned, of going like that. And at the end of the year, I figured, I didn't really need to know that anymore. I had taught myself to swim a few years earlier, and the next year I went out for the swim team. Now, the first year we had a fairly good team. I was still learning how to swim, and our coach Al Palmietto was at the time. And then the next year was when we had this wonderful team. It was the picture, you might notice out there, we were 7-3. Should have been 8-2, but a referee had a different idea. And that wasn't the last time that happened. But we broke 9 records. It was just a wonderful team. We had a team that swam in literally the worst pool in the county. And we took 5th place in the Section 1 swimming championships at White Plains, which surprised a lot of people. I was lucky enough to qualify for the state high school tournament and went there, and I saw a whole different level of swimming. Then I went on to college. I swam 1 year at Maritime College and 3 years at Cortland College. And I was, I wouldn't say lucky, but it was I qualified for the nationals all 4 years that I swam competitively, and I went. And I had a wonderful time. I had great teammates again, 2 great coaches, and it was just a great experience. And I'll always remember that. Some of the guys I swam with in college, I still keep in touch with. 2 of them I still compete with. And in the spring, the 3 of us will be going to the Masters Nationals in San Antonio and competing together. If we can get another guy, we'll have a relay. So,
there you go.
Yeah.
Any volunteers out there?
We could use a breaststroker, Amy, by the way.
Amy, there you go.
You know, I met a lot of good swimmers and a lot of good coaches and some pretty unique individuals in my days of swimming, including up to now. But there's one that sticks out, and I'll tell you about this. It was in the early 70s. it was upstate New York. I was helping at an age group meet, and they had a couple of masters events. So it was 500, so I entered it. But it wasn't me that kind of shocked me. There was this 55-year-old guy who swam the 500 who beat everybody in the 500 down to my age group, where myself and one other person beat him, the 19 to 24-year-old age group. In the locker room afterwards, this 55-year-old guy, Buster Crabbe, held court for 20 minutes, telling us what it was like growing up in Hawaii, making the Olympic team, getting the gold medal in the 400 freestyle, and then moving on to Hollywood, where he started as Flash Gordon and Buck Rogers, and then on to going back to swimming. And he told of his long friendship with Johnny Weissmuller and how he had been recently really trying to push Johnny to get back in the pool. Johnny just kept on declining. He said, "I'm just too old, I'm just too old." And Buster said, "I was just telling him, you got to keep moving, you got to keep moving." Johnny was 65 at the time, my age now. I think Buster had it right. You got to keep moving. And I want to encourage everybody, find something to do. Find something to keep active on. It makes life a lot more fun. I still get a thrill standing on the blocks to go swim, except for maybe the 1500 or the 1650. There's a little bit of dread there before I jump in the water, but it's all business when I get into the water. So in conclusion, I'm going to head back to Savannah. On Monday morning, I'm going to head back to the pool. This time I'm going to drag my wife to the pool, Kay, and at this time of the year I start calling her the Countess Kay. She knows she's in trouble. She knows she's lap counting for me. On Monday morning I'll be swimming the U.S. Masters 6,000-yard timed swim in a pool. It takes about an hour and 30 minutes, an hour and 35 minutes. It's a long time to swim on the clock. And I'll be remembering all my old teammates and my old coaches and a few competitors, and hopefully they'll get me through that once again. Every year or two, I swim one of these long-distance pool events. A few years ago, I swam one, I got the T-shirt. On the back of the T-shirt, it had a saying. It didn't make any sense to me, and now it does. It kind of said this: "We follow the long black line, we trust it will bring us home." And it did.
Good job, buddy. Stay right here. I'd like to say one more thing. My first job as a coach in Peekskill was this guy. We coached the 9th grade football team back in 1974, and it was just a wonderful experience. Geez, Jack, what is it, Monday you're going to be jumping in that pool for 6,000? Monday morning. I'd love to be there, but... What do you think, Joe? Got anything to do Monday morning? Take a little dip? All right, Jack, congratulations. Jack Cothran, everyone. Now, our next inductee from the class of 1972 has passed away, obviously way before his time. But we're really honored tonight to have with us to accept his induction into the Hall of Fame, the godfather of his son. Please come on up, Morrell McNear. Where's Morrell at? Come on up. I know you know all about Eric, but let me make a few comments. In short, Eric Clayton had one of the greatest seasons in the long and storied history of Peekskill High School football. As it says in your program, they ran out of alls when it came to describing the multiple awards that this remarkable, talented high school football player compiled. He was named All-League, he was named All-County, he was named All-Daily News, and he was named All-State. Eric was also a recipient of the coveted Con Ed Sports Award. Now, what led to Eric receiving all these honors is this. Just try this on for size. In a 9-game season, Eric scored 20 touchdowns. He ran for 1,082 yards and averaged 20 yards per game. He accumulated a total of 126 points, meaning touchdowns scored plus 2-point conversions that he scored. That means he was responsible. He individually, on an extraordinarily good team, was responsible for an average of 14 points per game. At the time, that was a record in Westchester County. Now, some of the highlights of the season for Eric were 2 touchdowns, one of 59 yards against Lakeland, another school we love. We despise them more than we despise Henrik Hudson, I'll tell you that. And we're in Lakeland country right here, right now. Tony Cianci can tell you that, right? You hate Lakeland, right? You hate him, all right. He also ran for 164 yards against Brewster, and he had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 games in which he scored 4 touchdowns. 4 games he scored 4 touchdowns. 1 versus Yorktown, and another against Saunders Commerce of Yonkers. Now, the ultimate highlight occurred in the season finale against what was, up until they played Peekskill, an undefeated Sleepy Hollow High School football team. You guys are remembering this now. This is a team, a Sleepy Hollow team, that had given up in the games leading up to the Peekskill game a total of 14 points for the whole year until they met the Red Devils. They won the game, the Peekskill High School Crimson Tide, 22-20. A victory which gave Peekskill a share of the league championship. On what was a great Peekskill High School football team, Eric Creighton was the exclamation point for that team. In that final game of the season, he returned the opening kickoff 95 yards for a touchdown. But then he ended up going on to score all 3 touchdowns in the game for Peekskill and the deciding 2-point conversion that won the game. That was the essence of a competitor named Eric Creighton. Creighton, sorry. He also competed in track and field in the 100-yard dash and the high jump. He was all league selection in track. But one last thing. Eric was actually born in Ossining. Thank you, Jesus, that he and his family moved to Peekskill. Morel, please accept all of the great congratulations due Eric Creighton. Thank you.
I'm honored to be here. I'm honored to speak on behalf of Eric. His son Matthew couldn't make it. He lives in Pennsylvania. One of our other teammates, Billy Bowman, married his mother. after Eric had died. So I'm not going to speak about his accolades. You already well versed in a lot of those. We were great friends. Everyone who played ball with him on our team was a great friend. He said everybody's his friend. Everybody. It broke my heart to see us lose such a good friend, all of us, because there couldn't be a better close-knit family of ball players than us for Peekskill High School. This bar was set by Eric. The bar was set by all these guys here before you that played on this team. It didn't matter if you were the scrawny kid who wanted to give us water and charge us for it. I know you all remember that kid. But he wanted to belong. The point is, he wanted to belong. So to be a part of this team, for me and everybody else in this room, was phenomenal. I'm often asked about, well, you know, how was Eric this? And Eric was like the rest of us. He loved to have fun. He spent many a night at my house, got tanked when he wasn't supposed to be drinking. Now, Chris Calabrese and the rest, they could tell you, oh, no, I'm not knocking Chris. He could tell you that many a time Eric came over and Eric was saying, well, Chris always came to the house too, I went to his. But he could tell you that Eric spent many a time at my house on the couch. He couldn't drive home. He wasn't even in condition to walk home. As good as an athlete he was, he couldn't even walk home.
You're talking about Eric or Chris?
I'm talking about Eric Creighton. But the thing is, he's great. Now, in his honor, if we could have arranged it, we would have had this party at the spot. Because yes, we would have. We all remember the spot, and for those of you who do not know, those of you who went to Hendrick Hudson, well, sorry, you missed out on it. Those of you who went to Lakeland, you missed out too. But the point was, it was a gathering spot for us. It was a gathering spot where we all hung out. We all enjoyed music provided by moi. But the fact of the matter is, we all enjoyed ourselves. It didn't matter if you weren't on a team, all you had to do was come. Kids came out of the woods out everywhere. Cops were looking for us, couldn't find us anywhere. They were like, where did all those kids go? We got reports they're in somebody's backyard, swimming. That wasn't true. They just couldn't find us. But the point was, we'd watch them leave and we'd go right back. So, needless to say, there came a time where, well, we got named and we wondered, how did we ever get picked? How did we get picked out of this group of all these people that were running away? Well, needless to say, everybody knew us. We didn't know them, but they knew us. So it wasn't until we got older and understood why we got caught. Eventually, they demolished us going to the spot. So we found a new spot. So we went to George's Island. So George's Island became the spot, but it got a little windy and cold, so that didn't pan out too well. So anyway, Eric said to me, he said one day, he says, you know, he says, I love these guys. He says, I couldn't play ball with a better bunch of guys, and I hope I can make it to the pros. And I said, you know, I hope you make it too. And I think he would have. But as I would say, and he would say, and I believe with the love that he had for everybody on his team, I say the same thing to my nieces. My nieces come say, Uncle, says, no, they just say, Unc. Well, Unc, am I your favorite niece? And I say, of course you are. So another one walked in the doorway, and she says, I thought you told me I was your favorite. And I said, well, you are. And the other one says, huh? So another one said, yes, well, you told me the same thing. I said, because you all are. And the same thing applies to friends in this room, and he considered all of you brothers. And I want you to know, from the bottom of my heart, you are, okay? So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed your night, and from his family and mine and yours, I appreciate you coming here and bestowing this honor upon him, because he was one of the best and one of my best friends. But you're all my best friends, just like I tell my nieces, so let's leave it at that and enjoy your night, okay?
Good job, buddy. Good job. How sick do you think Sleepy Hollow was that day? Huh? All right, now we go on to someone from the class of 1972. Interestingly enough, there are two teams being inducted into the Hall of Fame here tonight from this year as well, the wrestling team and the football team. But we have this extraordinary athlete being inducted on his own as well. Please welcome Gene Clemens. Eugene, come on up. Now, Gene Clemens was one of Peekskill High School's greatest wrestlers, plain and simple. He was an all-county wrestler in both his junior and senior years at PHS. In his senior year, he won both the Hastings Christmas Tournament and the Shoreline Tournament in his weight class, 155 pounds. That's about right, huh? About right. Gene's record in his senior year was 23-1. With 14 pins. He was the state Section 1 Division 4 champion and the #1 seed in the sectional tournament. Who the hell put this next sentence in here, Louis? He was upset in the sectional final for the only loss of the year. What's the matter with you losing like that? I had to edit this better. That was Mr. P who did that, man. Gene was also ran track for Peekskill and was a member of the varsity football team, which is also being inducted into the High School Athletic Hall of Fame this evening. Now, Gene later wrestled at Wilkes College, placing 3rd in the EIWA Intercollegiate Championships, which qualified him for the NCAA Nationals, in which he placed 7th, which is terrific. He was also voted the MVP, or most valuable wrestler, while at Wilkes College. Now, I want everyone to listen to this, because this is where the essence of Gene Clemens really comes into play. During his military career, he amassed an unbelievable wealth of wrestling titles. He was undefeated in the United States military USMA prep school from 1974 and 1975. He was All-Army Wrestling Champion 5 times. He was the Inter-Service Champion 2 times, runner-up 4 times. The USAREUR champion.
United States Army Europe.
There you go, in Europe. Thank you, Bubby. This guy's got my back, I love it. Anybody want to screw with me tonight, they're going through Gene, I'll tell you that. He was that champion 2 times with an undefeated 2-year record of 76 wins and 0 losses. That's right, I said 76 wins and 0 losses. In the year 1978-79, he was the CISM, which is the equivalent of the Military Olympics, right? Yes. Which was held in Iraq. He was 4th place in the 180-pound class. He had a big dinner the night before. Got over that 155 deal. And the Eastern Zone Greco-Roman champion 2 times in 80-81 and again the following year. He was the AAU Greco-Roman Nationals champion as well, and Eugene finished in 5th place there, making him the 2nd alternate to the USA Greco-Roman World Team in 1980-1981. He came in 4th place in the Greco-Roman Federation Nationals and the AAU Sambo National Wrestling Champion, 1st place. And he gained All-American honors with that. This guy's legion of successes are unbelievable. 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 Later, Gene became an assistant wrestling coach for Myers High School in Pennsylvania. He was a key contributor in turning around their wrestling program, earning a 2-year record of 41-2. Who's coaching our wrestlers right now? You turn around a program, we got a little, we'll talk later. Gene twice received the Assistant Coach of the Year in 1998-99 and 99-2000, which was the very first time that an assistant coach was recognized in this manner. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Gene Clemens Jr. from the class of 1972.
I didn't prepare a speech, so I'm not going to say a whole lot. I want to thank everyone for this honor. I really appreciate it. One of the things I want to say, in being recognized like this, like the individuals before me, you don't get here on your own. And one of the things I want to say, Mr. Cook was extremely instrumental in my success. When I came out for the sport, they had a successful program, they had outstanding athletes. In those years, it was a case where you walked into the team, they were undefeated that year when I was a freshman. So you learned from the people that were there how to win and what it's all about. And you wanted success, so you would do your best to carry your weight on the team, so to speak. I was surprised about this honor because, as I said to various people that I spoke to, it was a case where a lot of people before me used to beat on me regularly. And I didn't understand how I would be considered when they were hurting me all the time, so I thought they would be here. But Mr. Cook's tutelage there and encouragement and the program that he had set the pace, and it kept me interested in wanting to do better. One of the things that is instrumental that I tried to pass on, you're only as good as the people you work with. If you work with people who aren't that good, you're not going to be that good. So you have to strive in order to be successful to work with the better people. I can recall different individuals who shied away from working with the better guys on our team because they didn't want to get beat up. So they would work with guys that they could beat up, and in practice they looked great. In the match, they had a little problem. And for some of us who had to work with some of the other guys, we got beat up in practice, but we developed and got better, and that's how it goes. One of the things I wanted to say, reference Mr. Cook, after I left high school, I basically retired from wrestling. Mr. Cook got me back into the sport. I was in '73. He was taking some kids up to an open to a tournament up in Corning, New York. And I was home from the military on leave. And he asked me if I wanted to come along and encourage these kids. So I went along, and we went up to the tournament. And they happened to have an open tournament as well. Mr. Cook encouraged me to go into the tournament, show the kids how it's done. Well, I was a little reluctant, but I went to the supermarket, bought some plastic garbage bags. We went back to the hotel, created a sauna out of the bathroom. I started to get down to weight. I got down to weight, went into the tournament. It worked well. I got into the finals. The individual I had to wrestle was a coach for some college there, and it was a tougher match, and I was winning by a point or two, and Mr. Cook was coaching me, and he was telling me, stay away from him, because he felt I had to lead, all I had to do was stall out the clock. Well, I felt that if I took him down, I had the match sewn up, he couldn't come back from that. And I did, and it made me think of many years while wrestling for Mr. Cook. He taught me things such as never reach back, cardinal sin, you'll get in trouble. And I would do it on a regular basis. I'd reach back, and he'd be yelling, no, 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 and then when I pull the guy under, yeah, yeah, yeah. With that, I want to conclude. First of all, I want to congratulate all the inductees. I want to thank Mr. Panzanero, who I just met yesterday, for him and his staff, for making this possible. It truly is an honor. I do feel I represent Peekskill when I go places, and it is an honor, and I thank you all very much.
Gene Clemens, everyone. What a great coach, huh? No, 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 yes, yes, yes. That's the way. Go with the flow, isn't that right? All right, before we introduce the 1971-72 wrestling team, let me make a few comments here about the 71-72 athletic teams for Peekskill High. Both of those teams, as you know, are being honored here tonight. There were 6 student athletes that were on both the football and wrestling teams. Elliot Artis, Mike Bovich, Gene Clemens, just met, Dave Devine, Bob D'Amelia, and Danny Yee. Also worth noting from that year, the Peekskill High School baseball team was tremendous. They won the league title with a 17-1 record. There were 8 student athletes that were on the football and baseball teams. Frank Mastronunzio, Richard Davis, Bob Schulman, Mike Torella, Rashad Hassan, Tony Cianci, Kevin Schmidt, and Rocco Bagala. I know how to say Bagala. Now, the 71-72 wrestling team is about to be inducted into the High School Athletic Hall of Fame. There are 3 individual members of that team who have already been inducted into the Hall of Fame in previous years, and I want them to stand up when I call their names. Greg Terone in 1973. Danny Yee from 73. Danny's not here. He's in Hong Kong. Well, that screws up our whole program. Isn't he the one who's supposed to accept? Well, we have a terrible miscommunication here. All right, Danny Yee is not here. If he was here, he'd stand up and wave to you. Elliot Artis is here, though, from 1974. Wow. All right, the swimming and bowling teams that year were great as well, but as great as all these teams were, we all know that the greatest year for teams and everything else, Peekskill High School, was what year? 1965. I don't even have to say it anymore. All right, we've got the 1971-72 wrestling team being inducted into the Hall of Fame. Their record that year was 12 wins and 1 loss in one-on-one matches. They won 16 straight matches over the course of 2 seasons. They finished first in the Hastings Christmas Tournament and third in the prestigious Shoreline Tournament. To accept, on behalf of the team, the induction into the Peekskill High School Athletic Hall of Fame, and talk a little bit about the team and some of the members of the team, is an individual who you've heard his name mentioned a number of times. He himself is a member already of the High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Please welcome the great wrestling coach, Larry Cook.
The 1971-72 team had a lot of obstacles to overcome. We practiced at Woodside Elementary School. These kids had to walk every day from the high school to Woodside. They changed in a tiny locker room that had no lockers. They just had hooks. And first thing they did when they got there was take the mats out so there'd be room to change in the locker room. And they did that whether it was raining or snowing or whatever. They had no junior high program, no kids program, and we really had no JV coach until 1972. So the first time they were involved with wrestling was when they were freshmen. But they never made excuses. They dealt with that. And probably the biggest obstacle of that 72 team was the scale. These guys, almost every one of them, as they would say, cut weight, pulled weight. They would lose 5, 10, 15 pounds, depending on what weight class it was. And they would run after practice, or if they didn't make weight in the morning, some of them would get excused from study hall, and they would come and they'd run in the pool, or they'd go into the boiler room and lose weight there. And they did this yo-yo thing where they would go up and down, and to do that and be able to get out there and perform on the mat is a very difficult thing to do. If you can imagine that when you go home from practice, you can't eat, you can't drink. You have an empty stomach, you can't sleep, your mouth is like cotton, and you can't drink or eat because you want to make that morning weigh-in, because if you don't, then you're going to have to run to make that weight. But everyone on the team understood that they had to make weight because it would be a domino effect, and if you didn't make weight, then it affected what everybody else on the team did. So everybody made weight most of the time that year, and we had a great year. But the kids from Peekskill were what I would call Peekskill tough. They weren't not only tough, but they were intelligent. They knew how to wrestle. They had good technique. They had a strategy. They had a plan. But they also had talent. They were tough kids. They were quick. They were strong. They were fast. They had great balance. They were individuals who performed very well because they knew the team needed them to perform well. The team themselves would always support each individual when they wrestled in a dual meet or at a tournament. When you come off the mat, whether you won or you lost, everybody on that team was there to shake your hand and encourage you. It was a great team effort. Probably a couple of the highlights of that season was the match against Hen Hut. They were undefeated. And came down, we had to move some people around, and it was a very close match. And it came down to heavyweight. And if you were at that match was, there was standing room only. The mat was there, and surrounding the mat were people. They were all standing around the mat. Luckily, Elliot's father was one of the cops on duty. And he kept the crowd back. But it came down to Danny Juergens and Elliot Artis, the last match. Elliott was a sophomore. Juergens was a senior who had pinned Elliott the year before when he was a freshman down at Hin Hut, and they won that match. Well, Juergens was, what, about 215 then? You were both at heavyweight. Elliott shot a double leg takedown, picked him up off the mat, turned him, 215 pounds, put him on his back, and pinned him, and we won the match, and the crowd stormed the mats. It was chaos. That was a big win, and we also went on that year to win the sectionals, and we had a couple of champions that year. And by the way, Gene got robbed, like a lot of guys got robbed in the finals. We won't go into that, but he learned from that match. He learned from every time he lost, which wasn't very much, very many times. And he got better because he was able to deal with defeat and learn from it and get better and make sure it didn't happen again. But when we won the Open that year, we called it the Open, it was all the teams from the biggest to the smallest. We were the first team north of White Plains and one of the smallest schools to win the sectionals that year. And some of the guys who were really outstanding that year, of course, you know about Greg, who won the sections that year. Bobby Parsons, who I called the toughest pound per pound guy on the team. He was an all-county wrestler. He was second in the sections when he was a sophomore. And Smitty, Dave Smith, tough guy, 112 pounds. David had one of the interesting things. The following year, when he was was runner-up in the sections, a very unusual thing happened. The kid he lost to was a kid from Mount Vernon. He had appendicitis, and he couldn't wrestle. So the second-place guy was supposed to take his place and go to the States. But what they made Dave do was wrestle off for the honor to go to the States. He had to wrestle down at Sleepy Hollow, right, Dave? Remember that going down there? I know who made it. A couple of the guys who were into the Olympics and some other things who wanted to make it like an Olympic-style thing where you had to do a round-robin thing. But you beat both those guys, from the guy who came in second from the weight above, right? And the guy who came in third, right down to Sleepy Hollow in their wrestling room. Remember that? And they went to the States. But anyway, that was a very unusual thing. The only time I've seen that happen, and it was that decision, by the way, was the wrong decision. Dave was going to go anyway, but he earned it. And we move up, and some of the other guys who were really good on that team was Mike Bovich. Mike was, he had bright red hair then and weighed about, what, 155 pounds, 145 pounds? He'd go 45, 55, yep. He was third in the section. He was a outstanding wrestler and a technician, a great wrestler, and he and Danny Yee were the smartest kids on the team, along with Bobby D'Amelia, and they had a lot of good technique, and they worked with and helped other kids on the team. And Bobby's here too. Bobby was third in the sections that year. Bobby, unfortunately, missed about a third or more of the season. He broke his hand. If he hadn't broken his hand, we would have had an undefeated season. We would have beaten Sleepy Hollow. The Hin Hut match probably wouldn't have been as close, but Bobby was also an outstanding wrestler and football player and my next door neighbor, and his sister was also one of the statisticians. So that was Sue. She's here tonight too. And of course, our heavyweight, Elliot Ars, 3-time Section 1 champion. And only one in Peekskill to do that. And he was, his sophomore year, he won the sections. He went up to the States and talking about getting robbed by an official. In the semifinals, Elliot was right towards the end of the match, right? It was a close match. Maybe you were losing by 1 point. You took the guy down. The referee gave him 2 points takedown, 2 points near fall. The buzzer goes off. We won, right? I go jumping up and down, and then they have this conference, and they come out and they say, no, no, no. They raise the other kid's hand. I was going berserk, and it was the only time in the history of the New York State tournament that they had a hearing. And the excuse for that happening was that the guy who was keeping score, we actually had a hearing with all the big brass and everything. The scorekeeper was there. He said he was drinking a soda. This is a true story. He said he went to hit the buzzer. His hand slipped. So when he hit it again, and they had to go by his word that the takedown and the near fall points occurred after that. But he ended up taking fourth. Anyway, in his senior year, he got robbed again in the finals. He picked that kid up in the first period, just like he did with Juergens, turned him, put him on his back, and kept him on his back the whole period. Right, Elliot? And the ref would not call the pin. But they went on, and later on, Elliot sort of ran out of gas later, and he placed second. But those are some of my memories of that team. They were a great team, and if all the guys on that team want to come on up, come on up. Come on up.
Everybody from the team, come on up. Louis, Janine, you have something to give to everybody here, right? Here's what I want all you guys to do. Collect everything they're giving to you. I want you to come over here and just let everybody know who you are, okay? You guys can sit down, everyone's not going to see. Then you can stand up at the end.
Get in weight order, please.
Gene. Come on. Come on over this way, Elliot. You got your stuff. Come on over this way. I want everybody to see everybody. How many times they get screwed?
They did. Am I telling the truth, Elliot? I'm telling the truth. Remember, that
you must not have paid those guys off enough.
No, hey, it was in Syracuse. Look at it.
I knew it bad well. Come on this way, guys. Sue? D'Amelia? Sue D'Amelia, you here, Susan? Come on up here, Susan.
Find a wrestler.
Susan didn't wrestle that year. She was the statistician. She wrestled 2 years later.
Thank you.
There's a team with an extraordinary amount of success, and I want you to meet each and every one of them. Let them tell you who they are, because you heard stories about most of them. So come on up, guys. Just let everybody know who you are. And here, let's have a little fun. If you can remember this far back, let everybody know what weight you wrestled at. The only one I don't have to worry about is you. You go first. Go ahead, Elliot.
My name is Elliot Artist. I was a heavyweight. 215. And that was when I was in the 10th grade.
Mike Bovich, 141.
Stay stay up here. We want to get a picture, everybody.
Bob Parsons, 108.
There you go. Why not?
Bob D'Amelia, 177.
There you go. Look, come on up here, Susie. You don't have to talk about weight, right?
Oh, good.
Just
Thank
statistician.
you.
Yeah.
Sue D'Amelia?
Statistician.
Statistician.
There you go.
Gene Clemens, 155.
Michael Giannone, who also went on to be Mr. World's all-natural bodybuilding.
Wow.
David Smith, I think I was 112, I'm not sure.
Greg Tyrone, 215.
Yeah.
101.
101, yeah.
Donald Butch Ryan, 180, and I wrestled some heavyweight also.
There you go. Let's have a big round of applause for this great, great, great wrestling team. 71-72. Get in there closer, get a picture of everybody. Get closer together. Closer together. Sit down. Who are you? Get out of the way. All right? All right, guys, thanks. Let's hear it once more time. Can't you just picture Greg Tyrone warming up with Elliot Artis? Throwing Elliot around? All right, it's come time for our last inductee tonight, the 1971-72 football team. Football team that year had a record of 7-2, was coached by head coach Pete Lanati and assistant coach John Z.
Come on, brother, let's
You're
roll.
coming. This was a great team with great kids. Now, the 7-2 record does not give you a real picture of just how terrific this team was. The next guy is going to tell you how terrific they were. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome one of the co-captains, Mr. Andy Lee, to the microphone.
How's everybody doing out there? I was looking at Brad's kids. They were nodding out. Somebody roofied the kids. What's that about? Listen, before I get started, I just want to say a couple things. And you know the old saying, you can never go home again? That's a lie. It's a lie. We're home. We're back with family. And I feel it. Okay? Love you, brother! You see, who gave him alcohol? Mr. Panzanero, God bless you. Okay? God bless you. You're what this is all about. When I hear the name Panzanero, Cothran, okay, people like that, you know, those families that you've heard over the years that made that, you know, to Christopher, you know, that's what made this town what it was. I have something written down here. I hope I get to all of it. If I don't, I won't be up here for long. But I want to make this clear. This is what this is all about. I thought we waited a long time, 43 years. How's that feel, Jack? Right? I don't feel so bad now. When I found out the mayor of Peekskill was from Lincoln Terrace, I'm like, we've come a long way. And he's Italian. I'd like to thank the committee, any committee that would have my cousin Frank on it. Good for you. Good for you. The other inductees. I mean, come on, they got up, they talked. It doesn't get any better. Eugene Clemens, I've known Gene forever. He's a great guy. Jack, I've known his whole family. All right, now you young guys, Okay, Amy and Brad here, 91. I've got clothes older than them, for Christ's sake. Are you kidding me? God bless you. Your family's here. The kids are awake now. Wait, brother. We'll take you out later on. We'll take you to Frankie's house. He'll have a great time. Zip it. This tie is from Rosoff's. This tie is older than most of you, and it says Rosoff's. Mike Rosoff was our in-house bookie, by the way. He used to lay points on the games. It doesn't get any better than that. Right? Yeah, you're awake now, ain't you? Okay, now, a couple things I want to mention before I get moving. Mrs. Calabrese, I want to thank our parents. My parents are dead. If your parents are alive, God bless you. If your parents are alive, tell them every day how much you love them. Because because my mother would be here tonight. And we have a legend in this room tonight. Coach Nardone, right there, and his lovely wife, right there. The man is a legend. He's a family member of mine, and he's just a class act. And he also did us a big favor. Osning whooped Sleepy Hollow's ass the week after we beat him. Hence the reason we tied him and got co-champions. Otherwise, if they had beat Osning by numbers, they might have got the trophy, but they didn't. And Eddie Callahan, if you can hear me, we got the trophy. Some of the coaches, Pete Lunati and John Z, we had 2 coaches on the varsity. You can't find a program from AA down to D that doesn't have 5 coaches right now. 5 coaches, a trainer, a golf cart, right? We had 2 coaches. They had guys in the booth. We had people yelling, "You suck," from the... I'm telling you, 2 coaches. Really? Pete Lunati and John Z were diametrically opposed. Pete Lunati used to do this. I'm telling you, I thought a couple times he was gonna blow up. Frankie! Mr. Z would do this. And then kick you in the ass when no one was looking. We also had some great other Coach Berry and Coach Kane were doing the JV at that time. And as I get down the list a little bit, I mean, I'll never forget, I want to talk about Sleepy Hollow, of course, at the end, but Mr. Berry was the first. When the guy shanked the kick, and Mr. Berry, I turned around to look for my mother, and the first person that grabbed me was Mr. Berry, was on the sidelines. He squeezed me so hard my mouthpiece popped out. I couldn't even breathe. It was like he was the happiest guy in the world because we won. And that's what made our school what it was. It's awesome that we're going in with this wrestling team because there's a symbiotic relationship. You can't separate us. Football guys played wrestling, wrestling played football. You know, one of the best things we ever did was get Gino out. We threatened him. Play football or I'll beat you up. It was that simple. And he came out. He was great. For some of us guys that are old enough, our early coaches were Dick Holohan and Fran Moore. And those guys were awesome. Dick Holohan was the coolest guy in the world. He used to wear wingtips, you know, in school. And he used to, when back in those days, coaches wore ties, right? And in the game, he had the little tie, and he used to roll up his pants and had the spikes. And he told us, we're beating Sleepy Hollow in a game my sophomore year. I think we were 3-3-3. I mean, we had one winning season in my 4 years of high school, and it counted. And he told us coming off the field at halftime, "You're the Green Bay Packers. You're the Dallas Cowboys." I mean, he was an excitable little guy, and I've channeled my Dick Holohan, can't tell you how many times, and coaches, anybody that's coached, Coach Cook will tell you, Coach Nardone will tell you, anybody here that's coached, this is a thankless job. No good deed goes unpunished when you coach. Right, Lou? And while I'm, speaking of Lou, how about Louie? How about Louie? We got a peak-skilled guy as the AD. Really? That's great. You could almost set your watch when he was coaching basketball when to go to Glens Falls because he was bringing his team into the championship. And he's a great coach and a better person. And he had a great family. Like I said, these families are what make this town and what make us who we were, okay? A couple other guys I do want to mention because they made a big difference. They were what I would call friends of football. Coach Cook was one of them. JoJo Moore. Coach Moore, Matt Moore, JoJo Moore. If that guy's not an inspiration to you, you ain't got a pulse. You know what I mean? The man is paralyzed, he plays rugby. He's been paralyzed for 20 years. I heard him speak at a rugby thing a few years ago. You know what he said? He said he was blessed.
He said he had a great life. The man's in a wheelchair, and he told us he was blessed. He had a great life. I'll never forget it. I cried for days. He reached me. He reached something inside. And he was the kind of guy, when he was our junior high school gym teacher, that would make you stay after school and play basketball and stuff so you wouldn't go out in the street and get in trouble. And he was a great guy, and he's a great inspiration. Some other guys that you may not want to forget, or I shouldn't say it that way, but Mr. Sam DeLuca ran the summer program. Mr. Sam DeLuca. And Mr. Stuart Carlin, who I heard just passed away not too long ago, was his assistant, okay? And we had a super fan, whether you like it or not. Howie's brother George Squires, right? Yeah. George Squires would go scout the other team and come back and tell you, they got a really good halfback out in Lakeland. His name is, Veshiers, and we got to stop that guy, and we got to watch this guy Castleberry, and, And then he would train the wrestlers. I remember Mike Giannone running behind his car up in the park. George is in the car, and Mike's running. He's going, come on. You're doing great. You're doing fine. Our cheerleaders are here tonight. What's football without cheerleaders? And I tell you, we had some tough cheerleaders, too. Patty Carther, now, she'd knock your block off in a heartbeat. So we knew she was the leader of the Wolfpack, but that's a whole nother story. The season, what turned our season around? I'm not going to go through every game, but there was a couple things that I thought were important. First of all, besides them, yes, they were very important. The uniforms. We got new uniforms. If anybody had seen us prior to that, in 1970, when I was a junior, we had dudes wearing leather helmets. I'm not lying. Dinosaurs. We used to come off the field. Guys, the dinosaurs. People used to make fun. We kicked your ass, and you're wearing funny old uniforms. How embarrassing was that? So we get these new uniforms, And we go down. Right? Well, right. Their high school was a castle. Unbelievable. We go down to Ossining for our first scrimmage. Coach Nardone's there. We looked pretty good, and you could see that we were kind of feeling good about ourselves. Lakeland, we win the opener. One of the best plays I ever saw in my life. Eric Creighton runs, boom, to the right, stops. A couple of us missed blocks. Cuts back against the grain. We ear-holed like 10 dudes. We hit people. We hit their parents. It was unbelievable. Dudes were blowing up all over the place. He scored, and you were like, wow, we beat Lakeland. And then we lost to Rye. Whoa, hello. Well, then we beat Brewster. Okay, then we lost to Horace Greeley. Oh, my. Now what? Going into game 5, we were 2-2. We play Yorktown, class team. Had a little lacrosse player named Klemchuk, was their quarterback with a ponytail. I think Wences pulled his hair. And we beat them. Bobby D'Amelia stops that two-point conversion. We win that game, go on a 5-game roll. Okay? Some of the things in between that, we get to Sleepy Hollow. Sleepy Hollow, my God, everybody. There's more stories about Sleepy Hollow. I wish I knew half of the stuff that people talk about Sleepy Hollow. Yes, he did. Eric ran back the kickoff. It was awesome. And we hung in there, and we won that game, and that dude shanked that field goal, and the place went nuts. There was only one other sporting event I went to that year. I wasn't involved in it, but I was there. That was close, and that was the wrestling match. That wrestling match. I'll tell you what, when he pinned Danny Jurgens, it's like the bomb went off. There was mayhem, chaos. Guys are running. Danny Jurgens' father came out and covered his body. Elliot's father picked him up. The place was going nuts. If you can have a senior year where you win the league and your wrestling team kicks ass, pardon my language, kids, but I'm just living it. That's why they had me close it. It was unbelievable. We won at everything. And Pisco had a rich tradition. We had coaches that won a lot. Johnny Morrow's father was a fabulous coach. Our basketball team was unbelievable. Unbelievable. And so you had to, and about the coaches, Lenati took a lot of crap. You don't go 7-2 by mistake. John Z, there was 2 coaches. Pete ran the offense, John ran the defense. And they were good guys, and they cared about us, and they put up with us. And we didn't go to jail. Well, that's another thing. But so when you think about this, and you think about that 7-2 season, whether it's 43 years or a couple years not a couple years, but 91, you guys are young. This honor, we would have been 7-2 in 100 years. But nobody can take this away from us now. We're in the Hall of Fame with these people, this class act right here. And this is where we come from. Nothing, I've never, ever in my life seen a house built from the roof to the bottom. The house is built from the foundation up. This town is our foundation. This is what made us what we were. Whether you like it or not, this is where we came from. From Woodside to Oakside to Franklin Street to Park Street, from the Assumption School. Man, we went out and got dudes from Putt Valley. And this is who we are. From the Spot to the river, from Sorrento's to Dutchies to Geneva and all them places. This is who we are. And I'm gonna leave you with this. I'm running for president. Keep hope alive. Never, ever apologize for being passionate. Never apologize for caring about something. Teach somebody to care about something. This game meant something. And if it doesn't mean something to you, you shouldn't be here tonight. It was a great time to be a kid. 71, 72, a different world. We didn't have 5 coaches. Nobody took a selfie. A selfie? Really? A selfie's when you drank a 16-ouncer by yourself. You didn't have to share it. Yeah. Peak skill. I love you people. Hail to our colors. Rock and roll. Here we go.
Let's get everyone from the 71-72 football team up here on the stage. Andy, come on back up here. Get the team up here. Everyone who's in the room from the team, come on up. Get over there. Andy Lee will be appearing at Catch a Rising Star next Thursday night. Woo! You bring a receipt from tonight's event, you don't have to pay the cover charge. All right, once you get your stuff, come on over this way. Move this way. Come on. Let's get everybody over. Stay right here.
Hardware, baby. I got hardware.
Great job, buddy.
Thank you. Thank you. They said to me, please let me go at the end because I'm just so full of shit.
It was perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
Put the short guys in front. Let the honey.
Man, the whole team showed up for this deal tonight, huh?
Well, we got a lot of guys. All of us that can walk. We were going to give out an award for fake body parts, but
let's try and organize like the taller guys in the back, the guys my size in the front, so we can try and get a picture here. And then we're all going to meet these guys individually, just like we did the wrestling team. Oh, you got a lot of people here to get in here. Keep moving this way, guys. We're going to get in there.
don't be calling my phone no more. Dave Angle, please. My knees will lose.
Everybody's taking pictures. Get these guys over here, too. Come on, squeeze this way, guys, as much as you can. Get close like you like each other. All right, here's what we're gonna do. Quiet down out there. All right, before you guys leave the stage, what I want you to do is everybody stops at the microphone, goes off this way, but before you go off, tell everybody your name and the positions that you played on this team. Okay? All right? You got any questions on your way, just ask me. Good, start it off.
Andy Lee, left guard. Woo!
Dave Engel, defensive tackle.
Bob Schulman, quarterback.
Vinny Malaspina, running back.
Chris Calabrese, running back. This team is the best. Rishad Hassan, defensive halfback.
Mike Torello, linebacker.
Frank Massanizio, OLB, and center.
John McKechnie, tight end and defensive end.
Howie Squires, D-back.
Tony Cianci, running back and a kicker.
Dennis O'Toole, bent over.
Ben Thompson, line.
There you go.
Rich Davis, wide receiver.
Rel McNair, special teams, right end.
John Morrow, safety.
All right, John. Good to see you, buddy. See you.
Matt Woodward, receiver.
Matty.
Gene Clemens, defensive end.
Elliot Artis, running back.
Matt Rabel, number 85, receiver.
Mike Bovich, left bench.
Paul Dorsey, quarterback.
Wences Rodriguez, inside linebacker.
Bob D'Amelia, guard and linebacker.
Joe Mayer was the team manager.
Zippy Vance, the defensive end.
How about that? Let's have a big round of applause. Let's have a great round of applause for Amy Johansson, class of 91. Brad Wheeler, class of 91. Jackie Cothran from 1967. Eric Creighton from 1972. Gene Clemens from 1972. The 1971-72 varsity wrestling team and the 71-72 football team. Let's have a big round of applause for all. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. Hail to our colors. We'll see you next year.